And welcome to another show of Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host, as always, Tina. How you doing, Tina?
Hanging in there, Rob. How you doing?
Oh, pleasantly good for today. It was hot.
It is hot. It's a good thing, though, the nights are cooling down. It's not so bad. Yeah.
It's been really, really cold in the morning. I mean, I shouldn't say really cold. Pleasant in the morning. So when I walk my dog, it's like 55 degrees or 56 degrees. It's so nice. So
I find myself in the morning getting the blanket and putting it on where I don't normally sleep with it. So it's definitely getting cold.
I'm really weird in the summertime. I sleep on top of the bed. Like I sleep with no covers. I just sleep literally on top of the bed. So I found myself under the comforter a couple of nights, but
I get it.
It's going to be coming to where there's no
sleeping outside of the blankets.
Yeah, and no open window because I still have the window all the way. Oh, not all the way open, but open.
I'll still do that.
I'll crack it. I have to have some air come in, but I mean, in the wintertime, I can't have the whole damn thing open. I'll be like freezing.
I get you.
So, you'd like to have a little update. Let's talk about the show from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, we did a show about my friend who had terminal cancer. And a lot of you reached out to me that are listeners and asked for like an update. He passed away a week ago today. He had his family with him. My brother's doing well for what's going on, and everybody's really doing good, sticking together and making sure each other's all right. So we're getting along, and I was able to go and see him. I saw him 3 or 4 different times and just tried to be there and didn't cry and held it together. I think I just needed that when it just happened on the air. But I think I needed that to let the steam out so that I could do what I needed to do. And I was there, and I did get to see him. So
yeah, it's good. Yeah, we talked about it that day. You knew what you had to do. It was just a matter of getting over the hill. Mm-hmm. And, unfortunately, as we get older, this is going to happen way more often. Yeah. Hopefully none in the next, year or two. I would like a little
I'd take a solid 10. We could go a solid 10 without losing anybody close. I'd
take a solid 10, but unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case. Mostly because my parents are getting older. So we're
all getting older.
Yeah, that's very true. But besides that, I'm glad you got to see him and got to say goodbye and that kind of fun stuff. Me too.
And thank you everybody that reached out. I really appreciate it.
Yes, that's a good sign that people are checking in with you because it was a off the beat show that we ended up doing that was not going to be that. And me, I always have a way of nudging you a little bit to maybe
do everything I don't want to do.
Maybe do a show that you don't want to talk about, or it's personal stuff that just kind of needs to come out. So I think it's important, at least for me. When I'm ready to talk, this is a good outlet for me. So.
Well, I wasn't ready, but I guess my body was ready because it was coming, whether I wanted to or not.
Exactly. Yeah. So, this week, we were throwing around a few different things, and you threw one out, and I was like, oh, let's do that one because these days it's a big thing.
Yes, we're going to talk about getting offended.
Yes, and how people just get offended over everything. You can't say anything now without being pointed out, cursed at, canceled, whatever other word you can think of being just blasted by someone.
Right.
And it's getting to the point where you can't say anything. And I mean that on like the highest level.
No, I get you.
You bring up politics, you bring up gender, sexuality. You can't make jokes about anything. I mean, anything. The people at my work, we make jokes that thankfully don't leave the walls, because we say things at my work that's like, oh man. There's a guy that sits next to me that daily I go, dude, you gotta chill out, because somebody at some point is gonna say something. And again, I think it's probably the age of what we're at. Mm-hmm. But I think in general, people get offended.
I think it's the way we were raised too. We were raised like, suck it up and, let's move on. Not, do you want a trophy because you went to a practice? Like, we had a different way of dealing with things. If people didn't like what the other one said, they just didn't stick around. They didn't go around that person. They didn't go, oh, I'm offended, and make themselves a victim.
Correct. Yeah, you just stop talking to people.
Yeah. Or
until somebody said something. But even then it was different. It was just like, I think we would just had a harder shell. Like, you might get offended, but someone else would just be like, suck it up. Like, don't be, all right. So I said it, get over it. Let's go. I think also comedy was different. There was way more subjects that you could make jokes about. Like, there isn't comedy movies anymore. Like, can you name the last comedy movie? Like, really? Like, I can't.
You're asking the wrong person though for that.
Right. But like, let's just in general, like I heard somebody talking about it. I think I might've been listening to another podcast. I listened to Two Bears, One Cave, which is, these two comedians, and they talk about stuff, and they were talking about it too. And he goes, what do you think was the last good comedy movie? And he was like, The Hangover. And I was like, The Hangover? That shit was like 10 years ago. And it was offensive, but it was funny, because sometimes offensive shit is funny, and you have to, overlook that. Yeah. Are they shitting on somebody? Of course, that's part of comedy.
I thought Knocked Up was pretty good too.
Oh, Knocked Up was good, but I think that
they
also
said a bunch of things that were completely racist, and they got away with it. But I don't even know how old that movie is. It's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say many years. Let's see, Knocked Up, 2007.
Okay, so 15 years ago.
15 years ago. Hell. Let's see about The Hangover, because that one, I want to say was 10, but I could be wrong. Oh, no, 2009. So, again.
13 years.
Yeah. And, I mean, yes, there are a few things I think you could throw in there. Like, I don't know if you've seen Deadpool, but there's some things in Deadpool. I love
Deadpool.
You look at Deadpool, and there's some things in there that even you kind of have to go, oh, like, whoa, like, and I'm sure someone got offended. But like, I think with that, you just have to not care. It's like comedians. Like, I'm a big stand-up comedy guy. And you look at like Dave Chappelle, who got in trouble for all the trans stuff. But it's true. And I think that's the problem. Like, people don't want to hear that shit. Like, when he starts talking, I don't know if you've ever seen the bit where he talks about all the LGBTQ whatever is in a car together, and they all don't like each other. And he says kind of why they don't, because he's like, look, my gay friends have told me, and my gay friends have told me the same thing. Like, if you see the bit, it's very much true that they're all kind of their own thing, even though they try to be one group. But he caught a bunch of shit for it, and they tried to cancel him, and Netflix took one on the chin and blah blah blah. But they were like, look, we're going to back him. And that's just the way it is. And look, everyone can't be the same. Like, there has to be comedy for some people. Like, I like dark comedy. The darker the comedy, the better it is. Like Anthony Jeselnik. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. And if you haven't, I'm going to
be bad on all of these, to be honest with you.
Do you have Netflix?
Yeah, but I don't watch TV.
Oh no, I'm going to send you Anthony Jeselnik. and you just have to sit through the hour. He does an hour of stand-up. He does dark shit. I mean, things where he'll do a joke and the crowd won't laugh because it's like they're uncomfortable.
It's that bad.
It's that uncomfortable. Or there'll be like 3 people laughing, and then he'll even make a joke on that. Like, see, some people get it.
So what do you think the reason is that it changed so much?
I don't know. I was kind of thinking the same thing where I think maybe just this last generation, everything started changing again, word wise. Like you can't make fun of, like, there was movies that made fun of gay people, but in a good way. Like you look at like The Birdcage. The Birdcage with Robin Williams was brilliant.
Yeah.
No one complained.
But he was very stereotypical for what was stereotypical at the time.
Sure, but don't you think stereotypes are real?
They come from reality. They absolutely do.
Of course. Anytime that you see a metalhead in a movie, it's the most stereotypical long-haired stoner
long
dude.
hair, concert T-shirts,
and Doc Martens.
Doc Martens, or if you want to go like our era, it was more like Vans.
Or Vans, yeah. Yeah, if it's and it's even today. Like you see a movie about a metalhead, it's exactly the same as it was in the 80s when we were kids.
Yeah.
And yes, that there's a reason, because there are a lot of long-haired stoner dudes that go to metal shows. So the stereotype is very much real. And I think that goes along every single thing that's stereotyped. It might not be the majority of that subculture or race or whatever, but there's definitely a little bit in that. And people inside that race will tell you the exact same thing.
And it's all races. I was on the phone with somebody the other day who was slamming white people, and I had to stop and say, wait a minute, you realize you're talking to a white person. Like, yeah. I just want this to be known, because you're talking about racism and how you're on the wrong side of it. And here you're dogging me out to my face. And I'm supposed to say, okay, like, right. No, we're not doing that. If you want it a certain way, I do too. If we're going to talk, let's talk having the same respect and rules. And I got hung up on.
Yeah, I'm sure. I guarantee it. That
guess what?
To me, that's not
I didn't care either. I didn't. But I didn't get offended. I thought it was funny. I was like, whoa, somebody needs to go and take a time out. Like, I don't know what to say. I'm in a text message, a group text with 2 of my really, really, really good friends. There's me, who's the white guy. Then there's my best friend, who's Hispanic. And then probably one of my other best friends, who's a black guy. We say shit in that would get all of us canceled. And I mean, heavily life canceled. And man, if someone picked up my phone and didn't know the context or the people who they are, they'd say I was a horrible, racist human being. But the things they say to me is just as horribly bad. Yeah. Oh yeah. And we know it's coming. So, and we do it through like memes and lots of other horrible, horrible things. I'm on a couple of those too. And the worst insults they could come up with seem to be what they find the funniest. And there is no holding back. I mean, their favorite things to talk about are moms, and not in a good way. Like, the things they say are just, I mean, I literally will send the little girl emoji who's holding, like, she's got her hand to her forehead because she can't believe what the hell they're putting on it. But because I'm a part of this, I have to be able to deal with it. You know, that's part of
but you know
what everybody's doing too.
I know within this text thread that there is no rules.
Yes.
And I mean 0 rules. There's no like, oh, you probably shouldn't say that. And And I've gotten in trouble inside that. and I had to kind of go, are you fucking kidding me? And then I would scroll back and I'd send a screenshot of theirs. And I'd go, you said this. They're like, oh yeah. I said, I don't want to hear that shit. Like, we know that whatever's said in here is a haha. It's a joke. And again, if you did get really offended, we cut it off quickly. Like we go, oh, okay. And
too far.
And I don't think it's ever gotten to that, but it has been like, oh, come on, dude. And I was like, look, dude, that shit's funny. Like, I don't care. Like, you know, you kind of have to defend your jokes sometimes, but, my black friend, he sends shit that's borderline, like both me and the other guy go, oh, wow. Like that was fucking brutal. But
I even said yesterday, you went there. Wow. Like thinking that would calm the discussion back. It didn't. So
no, it makes it worse.
I was like, okay, if you could talk like that, why can't I? Because I'm white? That doesn't seem right.
No.
And then he said something and I said, and I'm not completely white. You know, I'm Native. Like, I'm not saying that I don't. He started talking about reparations and I brought up being Native and thinking, you know, all you guys could get off the land if we want to go back like that.
Hey, we stole it fair and square.
And right. And it went from bad to worse. And I was like, you know, I got to go. I just can't. And I don't know how you sucked me into this, but this whole conversation was bullshit. I'll talk to you later. And I hung up.
I've said things like that too. Like,
how'd you suck me into this? Because I don't ever get sucked into stuff like that. You know, I don't. I'm like, I don't have time for that. Shut up.
You're good. You're good at getting away with that. We rope on each other, but like, I've said things I'm sure that they probably weren't happy with, but like I said, we all know there's no rules. So like you have to, you either play by rules or you don't. And I think
absolutely,
again, I know in a public setting
not to say stupid shit,
where the line is. And my line is still very far.
It is.
I say shit that offends people.
It is.
And I don't care. And I think that's just, there's a great comedian. He was talking about being offended one time. He's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, be offended. That's the best part. It's okay to be offended. If you're offended, you know, suck it up. If not, don't watch it or don't listen to it or don't do this. There's plenty of people, plenty of things I don't like. I don't listen to them or I don't watch them.
Well, that's why I don't watch TV. I mean, let's face it. I was a big TV watcher. I always had the TV on. I don't do that anymore. I was offended and it was too much and I had to cut it off. But I didn't say victimize. I just turned off the TV, do something different, you know, live your life. Find
that I like. Everything's not for everyone. Like, there was a movie that just came out in the theater. It was called Bros. I don't know if you saw any trailers for it. Well, it was a gay rom-com. And it did horribly shitty in the theater.
How did it do?
Horrible. And one of the stars, who's a comedian, came out and like blasted straight people for not going to see it. And
really?
So I had a friend of mine who was like, yeah, you know, and I was like, what'd you expect? I mean, that's just reality, that there's a very large percentage of this country who isn't going to go see that.
It's not ready for that. Yeah. They're not ready for that sort of thought.
Exactly. So when you make your movie for 3% of the country, and I'm just talking about just purely that, and obviously you're going to have allies and people that are okay with it within the spectrum, but it did horrible. But they probably did okay for what it cost to, you know, in the long run. I don't know if it's going to break even, but that was one of the things where people were like, oh, you know, he goes, you know, if the straight people would have came out and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, look, again, people who are offended. There's people who won't go see that movie just because they're offended at the idea. So, And it just goes to show you that it's both sides. It's every side. Everyone can get offended. But
yeah,
to me, it's like, make it. If it does well, great. But don't blame society. You're going to have that on every side.
You're right. And I don't think that it's going to stay like that for very long. Soon enough, people will be able to see it and listen to it and enjoy other movies that'll be like that. Anything when it's kind of groundbreaking like that, it takes a minute for people to catch up to it. Mm-hmm. So it is going to be part of our future. It is going to be something that's more commonplace for sure. But it has to go with people's ability to accept it. For sure.
And I think that's with a lot of things. It's like podcasts. I remember when podcasts were first coming out, and I giggled. I was like, who in the hell would listen to one of these things?
That's what I said too.
Yeah. So it's quite bizarre to think that. And I think the real podcast started in like 2004 or 5 is like when they really kind of started getting rolling. So, it takes time, like anything. But to be offended, inside that.
Getting it off the ground is too.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But again, like you're no matter what we do on here, we're going to offend somebody. No matter what. I mean, unless we were talking about everything. I was going to say how to cook. We'd offend somebody.
Even in my own family, I offend people just for being who I am. I didn't even have to say anything and I've pissed somebody off. So it's no surprise to me that we're going to be offending people. I've heard that, your cussing offends people. I've heard that, me getting super emotional made people cry. There's always something that comes out of what we do. It's just the way it is.
For sure, because we can't please everyone. And I think once you understand that you can't, everything gets better. At least for me, it does. Because I see it as, look, you're either going to listen because you don't like us, you want to hear what we're going to say next, or you're going to listen to us because you love what we say, because there's no filter. It's just us talking about whatever it is we're going to talk about. And I think that that's kind of the big thing where it's okay to I don't try to be offensive purposely.
No, I don't think either of us do.
No, I think it's a byproduct of just who we are, of saying something that we'll say something off the top of our head. And then you may later on go, ooh, man, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
And I really do pay attention to what I say so that it doesn't get too far off the charts. So at some point, I'm sure that's going to change as well.
Yeah, you're pretty good. You've been very good with it.
Being married to the person that I was married to, I learned how to squeak by without offending people best I could until I was just being me, but also to learn how to say things so that it was more the ability to spoon feed what I had to say to these people so that I didn't have to offend them. I learned how to kind of sugarcoat it a little bit. But that wasn't me. That was my ex teaching me how to be more of a politician, which I really think he should have been one. He could tell you anything you wanted to hear and never answer you. Crazy. I don't know how he did that.
Right.
I'd tell him that stuff. I'm like, you just had a whole conversation with this person and never addressed the question, how the hell did you do that? And he's like, but I did. I'm like, no, this was the question. Did you say anything about that? And then he'd laugh because I caught him.
Yes, he'd walk around subjects.
He'd skate like he was in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is a very politician thing to do.
Isn't it though? I used to say, God, you're such a politician.
Yeah, say 20 things that didn't have anything else to do with the question.
I'd say you're not addressing the country, you're talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a gift. He taught me how to do it a little bit. So
yeah, and I think, look, again, we all have to be politicians sometimes because we're in front of family or bosses or, whatever that is. And like I said, I mean, I do my best to not overly jump out to offend people, but I do not have a filter sometimes. And I'm sure that there's been people who've left places that I've been at and they were like, most people either really like me or really don't. There's really not a lot of gray.
I get that. I'm an acquired taste also.
Yeah. I'm like dark chocolate.
I don't like dark chocolate.
Yeah. But see, most people don't. But the people who do really like it.
You're right.
So it's one of those things where, and this is what I like to tell people about dark chocolate and me. I'm like, most people, dark chocolate either is people really love it or really don't like it. But at the end of the day, having one piece a day is actually good, is healthy for you.
That's what they say.
Yeah. So listening to me once a day is good for you.
Right?
So they say.
I agree with that.
There's quite a few women that I think would totally disagree with that statement.
I don't know. For me, it seems like everywhere you go, you're offending somebody. You can't walk down the street. You can't say the name of a song with, like, everything is turned into something where people are getting offended. But to me, I keep going back to, why do you want to be offended? Why do you want to be a victim? Because that's what I see people that are offended. Why are you being a victim? Like, what can't you hear right now? This is just me being honest with you. You can't handle that?
Right. I also think too, like, how many people, real people, are offended? I think there's a Twitter mob that definitely is out there, and it's a small amount of people with a big ass voice. I think most people I know, don't get offended. We're all the outliers. Like, you can't even wear a shirt without offending anybody on either side.
Yeah, I get that.
Or a red hat. You wear a red hat that says something on it, people want to kill you. It's like, fuck.
Right?
Really? I just think we're in a very dangerous time. I think it's going to die probably with our generation, because everyone after us is going to be offended.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. People think it's going to die with our parents' generation.
I'm glad it's going to be after our generation, because I wouldn't want to live in a world where everybody's offended, everybody's a victim, everybody's got something they got to get over, has a label. I'm so tired of the damn labels. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like.
And I'm not even offended. I'm just tired of trying to figure out how to make everybody freaking happy when I don't give a shit, to be honest with you.
I think that's it. That's the only way to do it. And you're going to piss people off. And that's just the reality. Like, I live within whatever I believe. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, and you're going to get pissy, whatever. Like, sorry, move on. This is the way it is.
Just don't live in my world. I don't live in yours. So I'm not telling you how to live. It's kind of ridiculous. Have you noticed, even in driving, if you get in somebody else, not cut them off, if you just get in front of somebody else, they're flipping you off, they're going past you like an idiot, they're acting like you wronged them, like you almost caused an accident or something. That's going on all the time in my world, like just me driving to and from work. And I'm like, do you need to be first? Is that what your problem is? Because you need to put a crown on the top of your car so I know to get the fuck out of your way. You know, I'm not above like not pulling over. I don't care. Like, don't just act like a fool and then go around me and try to cut me off and then slam on your brakes because I got ahead of you. Mm-hmm. Go faster if it's that big of a problem.
Well, and again, I think that the offended part, it's up to you to not be offended. And again, switch it. If you don't like the person, don't be around them. If you don't like the show or the radio or the song or the band or the podcast or this, you don't have to listen. I think.
But why not just get used to it? Why not just deal with tolerance? Why does it have to be this whole situation where nobody could handle what is going on if they don't agree with it? Like, you have to tolerate things to live amongst each other. I don't see anybody having any tolerance.
No. And I think a lot of the people who preach that are the ones who are always offended. People who preach like,
well, I just preached it, but I don't normally get offended. I think stuff is funny.
No, and I'm well, so do I. I think things are ultimately funny. But see, I can find I'm like I said, dark humor, or I can find humor in death as long as it's funny.
You have to. Mm-hmm. I told you the story about us making fun of my mom's hair while she's laying in the casket. That took the steam off off the situation. That calmed us down. It made us go to a place where we could deal with things. I don't see why that was a problem.
I don't either, but like I said, I don't get offended, or I try to see through everyone's lenses. So yeah, that probably was funny for you guys. Mm-hmm. Now, was everyone going to see it that way? No, but they weren't supposed to live that reality of yours at the time.
Right. And they didn't the whole time my mom was alive. That was my brother and I. So when we started laughing, that was a moment because we knew where my mom would be with the whole situation. You know, it was like, check her out. She had, and part of it, to be honest with you, was like good because she put us through a lot before she died too. And again, let's just laugh about it because it is what it is.
Yeah. Yes. I think that's the bigger thing is live within your own moment. And again, if you find something funny, it's still funny.
Laugh. Yeah.
And if you don't find it funny,
doesn't have to be a big freaking deal.
Right. And if you don't find it funny, stay away from it. Don't continue to go back into that hole. It's like, it's the hammering a nail into the wall theory, right? If you put the hammer and you hit your finger, you go, oh, fuck, that hurt. And if you do it again, it's still going to hurt. But if you do it 20 times, that's on you. Like, it hurts. Don't keep going back to the well.
Why are you doing it?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's like I went out and had a drink with a friend of mine, and I was talking about a comedian named Tom Segura, and he does this bit where he talks about the love of animals and the love of children, and how people who don't have kids are like you'll go, oh man, I love my kid, blah, blah, blah. And they'll go, oh yeah, I totally understand. And he goes, no, you don't. You have a dog. It's different. And he goes, no, I get it. He goes, no, here's the difference. If my dog hurt my kid, he goes, without a doubt. And in 2 seconds, I would drown that dog. And like, she was like, oh, that's not funny. I said, no, it's utterly funny. Because here's the thing. The joke's not about killing the dog. The joke is about the love of your kid or the love of an animal. And that the love of your kid is above all else. That, yeah, if my dog hurt my kid, I'd drown that dog too. Because that's just the reality of it.
Right.
So, but she was like, she kind of got offended by it. And I was like, I said, you're looking too much on the surface of the joke. The joke is deeper than that. And I think that us as people need to look a little deeper of, or maybe not as deep sometimes, and see that it's just an outlier of being funny. Like if I hear a joke about, what the hell's Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner. If I hear a joke about that situation, I giggle, but it doesn't mean that I, hate trans people. I just find it funny. Ricky Gervais had one of the greatest jokes ever. He said, oh, Caitlyn Jenner, became a woman, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, well, thank goodness that she's keeping up the stereotype of not being able to drive because, she got in an accident and killed somebody. Great joke.
Oh.
It was a great joke.
I did not know that.
Yeah. It was an accident over on PCH. But like, to me, he hit two jokes at one time. He hit the women can't drive, and he hit that now that he's a woman. Perfect. I guarantee you Twitter went fucking ape shit. I bet you the night of that joke, there was a bazillion tweets over how horrible and transphobic he was. But to me,
I think he's just saying a joke. You know what I mean? It's just normal, making fun of normal stuff. Like, how many years have people been saying women can't drive, or women saying men can't drive? For as long as I remember, I've been hearing the same exact things.
Exactly.
So do we need to get offended now?
Well, no. And I guarantee you, if you watch a female comedian, she's going to shit on guys all day. Because she has that in her repertoire of making fun of things. And I've watched plenty of female comedians that have said things that I didn't think they were funny, but I didn't get upset and start tweeting that night. Like, I can't believe that she said that.
Well, I know that a lot of men won't even listen to female comedians because they say all they talk about are relationships and how men are stupid.
Well, yeah, but that's what they know.
Mm-hmm. And that's what they're dealing with.
Yeah. And
that's you talk about what your day-to-day stuff is.
Mm-hmm. Or what you find funny. And look, that good, any comedian should be able to talk about any subject, but yes, I think women, there was this one comedian, I forgot what her name was. I just saw it the other day, but she talked about like this, her whole bit was on how she had to go to therapy, and it was a super good hour. And she talks about like when she started getting her cocktail of drugs that the doctor gave her, and how she all of a sudden started getting better and blah, blah, blah. And it was a great set, and it was a good shock, I think, and awe of her being able to say, hey, like, I'm not okay. Like, it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. But she still had jokes within that not being okay. And I think that's good. You know what I mean? So, but I guarantee she offended somebody. But you can't just cancel away things. I think that's the other thing. Like, all these people who want to cancel away people for being offended, or cancel away things for being offended, you're going to get to a point where it's just a sterile environment. And if you think everything's going to be okay because you canceled everything away, there's just going to be something new to be offended at.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
And the sooner we get to the place of saying, just take it on the chin, yeah, you'll be all right, we'll be better. But I mean, maybe that's just I don't know where it starts though. How do we fix that? You know, my kid, totally different sense of humor, dark, sick sense of humor. Like my son would send me Holocaust memes.
That's
serious.
That's not something you should want to stay on the air.
No, but again, within the context of that, there was humor in it. You know, and again, I'm sure someone's going to get offended that I said, "Oh, the Holocaust was funny." That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you can find funny things within everything, and
in the Sick and Twisted for sure.
Yeah,
the stuff that you shouldn't say, you could definitely find humor in it. That's how we deal with it. That's a coping mechanism.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you that Jesselnick special. He has a joke in it where he goes, and when he talks, he's real monotone, like everything's real. And he goes, "Hey, last 2 years I've tried to find my girlfriend's killer. Yeah, still haven't found one yet." It's a great joke. Like the whole he's still trying to find the hitman. Great joke. And I'm telling you how he delivers it. I'll send it to you. He's very monotone in his jokes, but like the whole set is exactly like that. It's just, 75 one-liners that are just like zingers. And every time he hits you harder. It's like getting hit in the nuts. And the first one, you're like, ooh, man. And then the next one, he comes like double fisted, both. And he hits you in both. And the rest of the night, you're just like, dude, like but I guarantee you, if you got some little snowflake and sat them down to watch that special, they would fucking lose their mind. Just.
Do they really, or are they just doing that out in public when people are doing something they don't like? I wonder, are you really like that? Does all of those things really bother you? Or are you just like being an asshole?
I would wonder too.
I wonder that all the time.
That part of that Two Bears, One Cave podcast that I listen to, it's really funny. And I think you'd probably get a kick out of it because it's two comedians that just talk shit all the time. But one of them, they both have kids, but one has older kids. And his name is Bert Kreischer. He's really funny. He starts talking about his daughter. Like one of his daughters is like super woke, like super duper woke. Like, the color blue offends her for some fucking reason. And he's talking about, and he's a comedian who's pretty offensive, and she doesn't want to be known as his daughter, blah, blah, blah. Well, he took her to go see this other comic who's kind of an offensive comic, and that says really anti-woke shit. Like he's super Republican but he has a way of delivering. And he goes, I took my daughter to see it. And he goes, I thought she was going to be like just worked up over it. And he goes, I look over and she's laughing. And to the point where she was kind of like, don't tell anybody I was laughing at this. It's like, well, it's okay to laugh at it because it's funny. Like, it's okay.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It's okay.
Yeah. And it's not the end of the world. They're jokes. And
I agree with that.
And hopefully
you need to stop worrying so much about getting hurt.
Yeah. And I think we need to worry more about life and enjoying it while you are here.
I agree with that because it is short.
It is. Well, I saw another comedian, the same guy from that show. He said something they were talking about certain things, and he goes, I'm sick of people saying life's too short. He goes, fuck that. Life's too long. He goes, what? Can't we just like live a really good life until 50 and check out? And I was like, and here I am going, holy shit, I'm 50. Like, slow down. But I do understand where he was coming from. Sometimes you do feel life is like really long. And it's like, I
haven't felt like that since I was in grammar school. I've
That
always
life is
filled
long.
my life with so many things that I didn't have a chance to think of anything as long because I was always busy doing the next thing or whatever came after the last thing I did.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think life is short. High school was just a second ago. So I don't know. I think we all need to not be as offended and not be as ass hurt over everything.
Please.
Yeah, just
Ass hurt.
yeah. I mean, whatever.
But I get it.
Yeah, because it's nonsense. I think we just need to look at the reality of the world and do your best to get up in the day and do your shit and come home and enjoy it and try not to be offended, because if being offended just takes more life out of you.
Got to try to find the happy in life. I think that's the whole point to it. If you're constantly looking at being a victim, you will always be one. Mm-hmm. If you're always looking for the brighter side of things, you'll find that too. You get what you're asking for. So if you quit being offended and you quit feeling like you're being victimized, then you won't be.
Correct. We all need a good laugh.
Yeah.
Just
amen. You scared me. You scared me.
Well, we're at that time. This is a quickie. And sometimes quickies are good.
I'm all about it because I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
That they are.
Well, you can hear this show on Apple and Spotify and Amazon and Google and iHeartRadio. And you can catch us on Facebook, Instagram, sometimes Twitter. And hopefully soon, if I can talk Tina into doing YouTube a little more, maybe you'll see us on there. And anything else?
I'll bite the bullet and do it. Just tell me when.
Okay. I'll make sure to have my makeup on.
Yes, please.
And my hair did.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, have a good week. And you guys share, follow, subscribe, whatever the heck they tell you to do. Mm-hmm. And let your friends know about us so we can keep going.
Yes, we're like seven states short of 50.
I thought it was 5 now.
I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe.
I think it's 5.
All right. Yeah. Well, this is an opinion show, so don't get it twisted. Have a good time. Don't be offended. And we'll see you in 7 days from now. Every Wednesday, the show comes out. If you have any questions, feel free to read the show notes. We have an email. We have all kinds of fun stuff. Until next week. Thank you, Tina.
Thanks, Rob.
No problem. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.